Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Carlin. I'm your host for another edition of Hey Doc, What's New in Plant-Based Medicine? And today I am just ecstatic to have one of my incredible idols in this movement, someone who is interestingly not a physician, but somebody who has a great story to tell about how he reversed his own disease. I want to introduce you to the Borough President of Brooklyn, New York, Eric Adams. Hey, Eric, how you doing today?
Quite well, quite well. And so much is new in plant-based medicine that the more and more you tune into your show, you're going to learn about how wellness is very much part of us. And so thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. You have a new book out. We're going to talk about the book, but I want to talk a little bit about your story because your story is so unique. And I know you work, and I wrote about you in the description about your history, about how you started as a police officer 22 years ago. You became police captain. Then you were elected to the New York State Senate, and you served just under four terms. You left after 7 years. Excuse me. You left after 7 years because you were elected to be the borough president of Brooklyn. And now, well, we'll save that announcement till we get into a little bit. We have a very exciting announcement to make. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you wound up making this change in your dietary lifestyle.
You know, it's extremely fascinating when I reflect on it because it actually started with mom when I saw mom inject herself with insulin. And she grimaced, and I looked at her face, and I realized after 7 years of injecting herself, she never got used to it. She was diabetic for 15 years and 7 years taking insulin as well as other medication. And I said to myself, I wish I could do something for mom. You know, she's constantly taking drugs, and she's not comfortable with injecting herself all these years. And, you know, sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for because you'll get it without realizing it. And a few months later, I learned that I, too, was experiencing type 2 diabetes and some of the side effects of the advanced stage. I lost my sight in my left eye. I had permanent nerve damage in my hands and feet because of diabetes. And I had a high blood pressure, high cholesterol, as well as many of the other symptoms. And it wasn't until I decided not to go what many of the doctors stated, but to go to a whole food plant-based lifestyle that I was able to make an impact and turn it around in such a short period of time.
I'm going to put up a slide that's the before and after picture that Veg News used so people can see. Take a look at the transformation. What year was this, Eric? Do you remember when you made this?
Sure. It may have been in about 2000 and probably 16, around that time, during the summer, during that moment. But I dropped 35 pounds. I was able to, you know, the vision loss I was experiencing, it reversed in only 3 weeks. And my diabetes in 3 months went in remission. My nerve damage went away. My ulcer went away. My blood pressure normalized. And it was just a complete, not only physical transformation externally, but also internally when I was able to change and went to a whole food plant-based diet.
Very interesting. I'm going to play. You are involved with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. They're also known as PCRM, and they were instrumental in helping you find a strategy that worked for you, basically a non-medication strategy. And we attended the same annual meeting called the International Conference on Nutrition and Medicine in 2019. In July of 2019, I was there. There were probably 850 healthcare professionals in the dining room, and you were giving a talk. So I'm going to put this on right now. It runs a little over 3 minutes, but I think it's a powerful speech, and I'm just honored to be able to share it with you and with all of our listeners.
When I was told I was diabetic, and it told you would be on medicine the rest of your life, told that you are going to lose your sight in a year or so, turn in your driver's license because you no longer can legally drive. You're going to lose some limbs and some fingers. Five doctors of high caliber told me that, Eric, there's nothing you can do about it. And being a scientist, I used my scientific research method and went to Google and Googled reversing diabetes. And all I needed was 4 letters. PCRM. 3 weeks after going to whole food plant-based, my vision returned. 3 months, my nerve damage went away, my ulcer went away, my cholesterol reversed itself, my PSA normalized, my body changed. It's the food. It was never my DNA, it was my dinner. Mother joined me at the age of 80, 15 years as a diabetic, 7 years on insulin, 2 months going whole food plant-based, threw her insulin away. And mommies and daddies and aunties and uncles are out there going to dialysis, losing their sight, losing limbs. And you move through medical facilities after medical facilities, and they're moving in a method that this is just a medical shower and not a typhoon that's wiping away our families and wiping away our experiences. We must let them know that we are not going to surrender the health care of our country to those pharmaceutical industries that have hijacked our families. Take our look at 9 drug dealer is not wearing blue jeans standing on the street corner. It's a 3-piece suit pharmaceutical company and not our family. And so I want to conclude with this. You have seen nothing yet. 2021, when I become mayor of the city of New York, meetings from Monday to Sunday. Our bridges will have healthy food. Our senior citizens will have healthy food. Our babies will have healthy food. We're going to change the concept and mindset of healthcare. It's going to start in New York City and it's going to cascade across this entire country. This is our time. Stay focused. Stay committed. Stay dedicated. Stay ready. Let's go.
Wow. It actually gives me goosebumps to listen to the power within that message. Now, I want to let you know that I wasn't planning on filming it. I was just a member of the audience, and I was so inspired that I just picked up my cell phone and I handheld it, which I'm usually not allowed to do when I film for Jane and Jane. I have to have my stabilizer and all my equipment, but I just picked it up and I grabbed it. And there were about 850, almost 900 people in that room. There was a sea of people. And I also have to tell you, that was not an easy audience because a lot of the physicians and the healthcare providers that come to the annual meeting haven't yet completed their journey. Some of them are just new to it. It's like, oh, this is interesting. They want to come get some information, but they're not convinced. Right. And it was a hard audience and they were roaring.
Well, I think that, I was always told as a child, when you speak from your heart, it reaches the hearts of people. And when I was given a new lease on life, when I was given my sight back, when I was able to reverse my neuropathic nerve damage, when I was able to reverse my mother's diabetes, there's a level of energy and authentic desire to help other lives. I want families to heal. Chronic diseases hijacks your life. It destroys your families. It doesn't allow you to appreciate the beauty of life. We're not made to just exist. We are made to live. And there's no use in living to be 100 years old if you can't identify your grandchildren because of what processed food has done to our brains, or if you have to be pushed around because you lost your limbs, or you are unable to move because you're on a breathing apparatus. I want people to live, and I feel that energy every day, and that's where my commitment comes from.
And the authenticity rings through loud and clear. And you have done a bunch of amazing things because you're bringing plant-based foods into the schools, which I think is incredible. Let's talk a little bit about this. This was a school. This is a school in Brooklyn. It's the PS 56 Elementary and Middle School, and this is a picture of you there. And you were part of a project to support urban farming and promote healthy eating in the schools. Can you talk a little bit about this program, what you did there, and if you did anything else regarding food and kids?
That is the place where we are attempting to focus on how do we target, just as you plant a seed and hope that it bear fruit one day. That's what we want to do. We want to plant the seed of nutritional based education so that we can have our young people go into their communities, go into their homes, and really start educating their family members on why we could turn around this healthcare crisis that we have in our country. And so we are looking at Mondays in schools, as I indicated in my speech. But we're also looking at how do we infuse in education into our schools to show children how to grow food, how to also do what I believe is important. Number one, food must look good, it must be good for you, but darn it, it has to taste good. And we want to show children how to cook good tasting, healthy food. It doesn't have to be bland, it doesn't have to be tasteless. And that is part of our entire process. Government should not feed the crisis, and that's why we're focusing on our educational system. Here in New York, we feed our children 960,000 meals a day, and those meals are creating the crises that we are experiencing in our city.
That's incredible. And what do you see? What do you think you'll be able to do when you're elected mayor?
Oh, that's a powerful, powerful question. Because here's my focus: I can't tell a person what to put on their grill in their backyard. But I can state that taxpayers' dollars won't go to feeding the crisis. So we're going to look at every place where we're feeding New Yorkers. So if you're in our health and hospital system, you're not going to go to the hospital for a diabetic issue, and then we're going to feed you food in the hospital that will aggravate your diabetic issue. If you have heart disease, we should not be giving you food that will aggravate your heart disease. That is same with child protective custody, ACS, the Department of Correction, Department of Education. Everywhere we feed people, we're going to feed them healthy food. And even our food pantries will be supplied with healthy food. Right now, we're giving processed food, food that is really aggravated the conditions that people are living with, and even homeless shelters. If you look at people who are homeless, many of them have comorbidities. Yet, instead of using that moment of finding them homes, we should also take that moment of finding them healthy ways of living and feed them healthy food, give them nutritional classes, teach them how to cook healthy food. We need to use the opportunities when when someone is in the midst of a governmental agency. They should leave the presence of that agency in a better state than where they are, and we need to focus on that. And you always ask the question on your show, what's new? What I'm finding that's new, that I'm really surprised about, I have been doing research for the last 6 months, and that's mental health. There's a new discipline called nutritional psychiatry, because we are now seeing, based on some of the prestigious reports and studies, the connection between the food we eat not only impacts our physical health, but it impacts our mental health. Things like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, so many other uh, mental health disorders are connected to the food we eat. And these studies are now forcing us to go into a new direction of how do we deal with the mental health crises that we're facing in our country.
Yes, exactly, exactly. There's a woman here. Let me see if I can find the message. Here we go. Catherine Wiley says, I've been trying for over 2 years to get healthy plant-based food into my boys' elementary school. They've made tiny changes. It's been an uphill battle because of the federal guidelines that put meat and dairy on kids.
And he's so true. One of the hidden arms of government is something called lobbyists. It's unfortunate that many Americans think they are electing a person to represent them in Congress or in their local offices. They don't realize the power of their vote is being destroyed by the power of the dollar. Lobbyists go in, they shape legislation, they prevent some of the changes we're looking for. I believe that we need to take money out of politics and allow a public finance system, because right now lobbyists that work on behalf of large corporations and companies, they're shaping the policies that will impact the health of our families. And so I would encourage the person who wrote the question, I would encourage him to go out, organize on a local level with the parents in the school. First, give them information on how the food is causing the asthma, causing the obesity, causing the diabetes, and then start a local move to change the food that's in the school. Because there's nothing more powerful than a group of parents who wish their children to be able to live a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now you have a new bill was just passed into law, the Hospital Plant-Based Options Bill. And I believe Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine was one of the sponsors of that bill. We have it in California. And before I have you respond to that, I'll let you know I had an accident in March. I fell off a stool and wound up in the hospital. I broke my pelvis and wound up in the hospital and got to experience plant-based food. And it was very interesting because the nurses on the floor where I was didn't know anything about the bill. In fact, they thought I was a little Looney Tunes when I was telling them. And I said, I was actually part of the team that got that bill passed in California. And I know for sure they thought I was Looney Tunes. And I used my cell phone and pulled out a copy of the bill and said, here it is. So what I discovered is when I talked to dietetics, because I ended up talking to the nursing supervisor, but when I talked to dietetics and the house supervisor, they said nobody ever asks for the plant-based diet. So this year, I'm hoping to get involved again with Social Compassion Legislation, the organization I volunteer for here. PCRM was also a partner in this legislation. Governor Brown, when he was governor, signed that bill into law. And what we need is to tweak the bill so that hospitals are required to have patients sign off on a document that they know a plant-based diet is available. Yeah. And number two, there shouldn't be a separate menu. It should be one menu that has plant-based options on it. So do you know what they're doing in New York? Do you know any of the details about how they're going to try to implement that? Because those have been the problems I've experienced here.
Yes, so we are pushing, particularly in the area where the mayor is solely under control. We control our health in hospitals here in the mayor. It's the largest hospital system in the city, not the country. And our goal is to make the mayor, or to have the mayor call for plant-based options as the default, so people don't have to be informed. Let's start from a healthy place. And then if a person wants something else on the menu that's not plant-based, then they will ask for it. But our goal is to have plant-based as the default menu, because if we're in a hospital, we're looking for wellness. We're not just looking to satisfy the belief that a person could eat anything, no matter how unhealthy it is.
Well, I want to stay involved because I want to see what's going on in New York, because that can be a precedent for what we want to do in California to make it so that I'd love to see it as the default. That would be incredible. And I'm going to put up a picture right now. This is you in the kitchen. So, and this is you post adopting your plant-based diet, and your smile is just so incredible. And here you are chopping vegetables, and I suppose this is a meal that looks like beans and rice and vegetables. So did you spend time in the kitchen before adopting a plant-based diet, or was this something you started doing after you got on board with this?
Oh, clearly after. I was a terrible cook. I used to have one meal I would make, and that was French toast, and I would burn that half the time, So it wasn't until after, and really the first week, my meals were so terrible, and I finally said to myself, Eric, stop saying "woe is me" and say "why not me." And I leaned into this new experience and started the process of just cooking one new meal a week. Sundays were my experimental days, and I would actually try different spices, learn about a new spice, the power of the spice. Many people don't realize the healing power of spices, and I just made a transformation. I went from only having 7 meals I would eat for a week to now 60 different meals. Some are fast meals I can make, but they're all good tasting, filled with good, healthy spices, good food, high fiber content, and just a different approach to food. And the feeling is just amazing.
So my friend who is a true New Yorker at heart, Simone Reyes, says he looks fantastic. Hashtag vegan power. Shout out to Simone Reyes. He's still a New Yorker at heart. I want to take this opportunity to put up the cover of your book. So let me take this other one down. Here we go. So we can see the cover. Healthy at Last. The tagline is a plant-based approach to preventing and reversing diabetes and other chronic diseases. And what's incredible here is we can't see it in the picture, but Dr. Kim Williams, who's one of my favorite cardiologists from Chicago and the former president of the American College of Cardiology, wrote the foreword to your book. That was a great that was a great thing you did. He's certainly the leader amongst all cardiologists. And I love his line. He says, let's see if I can remember it. Don't botch it. He said, I'm not afraid to die. I just don't want it to be my fault. So,
Love it.
So that's one of the quotes from him. So tell us about the book, and I'm going to put the link up. And I'll have it also in the comments if people want the Amazon link so people can order it. There we go.
It's just being healthy at last. The body, we all look for the health, the feeling, the lack of being lethargic, the feeling of not always sitting in a doctor's room, being poked and pried, not living day by day by medication and prescription. Just a new life, and it's about healthy at last. It's a play on Dr. King's words, free at last. It's showing the journey of health and how you can have a healthy lifestyle. And it's not talking down to people. It's not trying to lecture anyone. It's just exposing myself to the journey that I went through and showing the origin of some of the food that we are eating and where it came from, and how you could just take basic steps to moving towards a more healthy, balanced lifestyle. And just my personal story and how it has changed my life, and I'm hoping to change the lives of others.
I think that you have already made a great impact, and I think you're on a roll, and I think you are have not even reached the peak. You are still heading up, and I think just like what we don't want COVID to do, you're going to hit that peak, and I hope stay up there for a long time. I think the book is a wonderful book. I've got the link across the bottom, and for anybody that has any issues, because you can't click the link on the live stream, but I'll have it in the comments. And I know we're getting to 10:30, and I know you've been driving in the car. you've got somebody driving you, so we can actually see you behind. It was pretty good connection almost the entire time. One quick thing I want to end with is tell us about the program at Bellevue Hospital, because you're involved with that, and I think that's a revolutionary program. And I hope to have Michelle McMacken on my show after the first of the year. So could you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll end. Then I'll go back to our surprise announcement.
Yes, she is amazing. Loved Dr. Michelle McMacken. We have a lifestyle medicine clinic at Bellevue Hospital. The last I checked, we had about 750 people were on the waiting list, and about 225, 230 people were enrolled in the program. And it's about giving people an option. I think right now you go into your typical doctor's office or your hospital, and no one is giving you an option to say, do you want to look at potentially reversing your disease, or do you want a lifetime of medicine that really covers up the symptoms? Our country is great in dealing with chronic illnesses or chronic injuries. We are terrible at dealing with chronic diseases. You know, chronic diseases should not be a lifetime of large doses of medicine. It's really lifestyle. And so the program we have is showing people how to make lifestyle modifications, and the results, they have been amazing, where people are seeing that it's possible to change their disease, decrease the amount of medication they're taking, and in some cases getting off medication altogether. And we're excited about that, and we're hoping to expand that. That is something I am looking forward to doing.
And I hope this program can serve as a model and as a paradigm for other hospitals, because Bellevue is not a fancy elite hospital. This is a general hospital that sees indigent patients, and it's quite a large hospital. So you're really getting the mainstream of the population who unfortunately suffers for all of the complications of these chronic diseases. I mean, you know yourself, you reversed your diabetes. Not everyone is going to be able to get to the point where they reverse it, but I think everyone will improve significantly. And that's what we want people to know. And you may be patients who listen to this, may be the lucky one who, like you, who's been able to actually reverse your diabetes. So it's not a it's not something that will last your entire life, although many physicians still don't understand. And the measurement of your success is the hemoglobin A1C, the measurement of the long-term measurement. And then you really are where you need to go. It looks like you just stopped. I'm going to end the show because it looks like you're getting ready to go to your next meeting. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Just believe that you can live a healthy life. The body, the person, your mind, your body and soul, that you know who you are and who you want to be is right there. We just need to get out of its way 3 times a day, and that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, it is. Well, all I can say is thank you so much for your time. I'm honored to have you in between meetings. You're an incredibly busy guy. And I want to let everybody know, if they haven't heard already, you have announced your candidacy for mayor of New York City, and people can follow you. I had your Instagram, and one of the Instagrams is Eric Adams for NYC. So people can follow you. The Instagram's going across. I'll put it in the comments for anybody who isn't able to copy it down now, so they can follow you. They can ask questions. I wish I could vote for you, but I'm in California. But I will certainly help promote you. And I just think you would make a wonderful mayor. And I understand you're doing quite well. You've raised a good amount of money, and it looks like, from what I've read, you're the favorite. So.
Yes, very excited.
It's very exciting. Well, thank you so much, Eric Adams, for joining us. I'm Lisa Carlin, and I will be back with another show next Friday with Dr. Vanessa Mendez. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.